It's TJ, and welcome to my first impression video of Dynasty Warriors Origin. Now, I'm aiming to be as spoiler-free as possible, but given this is the first video of its kind that I've done, it's far from perfect. But as you can see, I'm currently dealing with the settings. It had 3 difficulty options. I, of course, played on this game's version of normal for an all-around experience. But for those that may complain later that the game is too hard, you do have the options. This game honestly feels a bit of a return to form compared to Dynasty Warriors 9, but also a little bit of departure. It's emphasis on some of the difficulty with the officers you may face, but you still have the power fantasy of being able to take on thousands, just like the good old days. The game begins, of course, with a little bit of cutscene, some story behind it, and you get to start in a tutorial area that basically just all the basics, but they find a way to make it at least somewhat entertaining. Now, of course, it doesn't lock you behind what it wants you to do. You can just button mash and hope for the best. Typically, that's the best way I can learn, is I button mash.
Break through the guard post up ahead. As long as we get past the post, we'll be beyond their jurisdiction and out of their reach.
Those are the outlaws. Don't let them get away. Strike them down.
Now, for those who are not aware, the character I'm currently playing as is the main character. There's no roster to choose from or anything of that nature as of now. Now, there is the ability, after certain conditions are met, that you can switch between this character and whoever you have partnered with when you have started a particular area. It is not very common. I have played through the first chapter entirely when I had recorded this. When I have recorded the video. The audio, I have gone through all the way up to the second chapter completed. And I have maybe switched characters, I would say, about a handful of times. Not due to the lack of availability, but more so because I've forgotten that I could do that. I can, keep getting lost in the enjoyment of being able to just destroy thousands. I had to change the camera speed. I'm not used to the camera moving as slowly as it was, which, as you can probably see from that, you can change a majority of your settings, mid-combat if needed. Now here, there is a cutscene that takes place there, but it is gone for story reasons. Now in this video, given that this is the first impression video I've ever done, it's going to be quite choppy, and I'll be very quiet in pieces because I'm not 100% sure of what to say or how to say it. but I can do a quick TLDR. I believe this game was 100% worth it. It is enjoyable, even though I had to, pay extra to get the early access to get this out before it releases. I still feel it was money well spent. Anyone that is a Dynasty Warriors fan from the good old days back in, 2 to 8, I believe it's well worth your time. New fans, or potentially new fans, I could really see anyone being able to pick this up and having a good time with it, even if you know nothing about the game. This game, I believe, takes place very, very early in the history. But I'm also not the biggest on the Dynasty Warriors lore. Now, the little display of power you got to see from Guan Yu, that was one of the times you get to take over another character, and the feeling of being strong as a god is consistent with every other time I've gotten to do that in the game. It's very, very fun. And it's also a way, if you use it strategically, to make fights against certain stronger officers significantly easier. Now, of course, with this being a tutorial section, you don't get to save it for, this tutorial boss. And there are times where if you stagger an officer, you do get to do a stylish finisher. And the finishers change depending on the weapon you are using. There are multiple weapon types and you can equip any of them. I have gotten, I believe at this point, 5 or 6 different weapon types, all of which are enjoyable. My personal favorites would have to be the two-handed sword, or I'm gonna butcher this, the padel, and the wheels, or I believe they were discus blades back in the other games. I can't remember. But there is an overworld map, as you can tell, where you will control your avatar. You will walk to other areas of the map. There will be points of interest that you can interact with or enter. There are barricades, which are obvious points of progression, I guess. You have to achieve a certain point in the story to get past them. But the inn is the basically your main hub. This is where you'll get letters from other characters, news about events going on in the game that correspond with the story or actions you've taken. You can set your loadout. You can pick which weapons you want to use, the accessories, your skills as well. And as you progress, you'll unlock more things you can do in the inn.
start?
Missions. This is the beginning of a mission. It should be very familiar to people who played Dynasty Warriors games before. This is, you're basically being briefed as to what you need to do, who you need to protect, and who you need to take out, as well as the general overlay of the map itself and how you need to get from point A to B.
I'd say so.
And as per the usual with Dynasty Warriors, it's when a lot of dialogue between officers on your side will have between each other discussing plans. Some of it not necessary to what you may have to do, but it is interesting, nonetheless. Now, of course, with the usual Dynasty Warriors fashion, your side is blue, enemy side is red. Makes it easy to see on this map as well as your mini-map. And again, just like the inn, you have the opportunity to change your loadout before you begin this fight.
Alright, let's do this. I better not get
Now, in this one, you can see I have a different partner. It is Jane Fay.
filthy hog dogs. Stop you here. Here they come. Are you ready?
Now, this game greatly rewards the ability to time your blocks. If you block at the right time, you will parry the enemy, giving you a chance, causing you to stun your enemy, giving you a couple of precious seconds of just being able to unload on them. Early game doesn't make that big of a difference, but later it is very valuable when you're either fighting multiple officers or one officer of significant power. Now, for those that are unsure about this game, there is a demo. I have played the demo about a month and a half ago, and I loved it. Thoroughly enjoyed everything about it, and the special fight that was saved for you at the end of the demo. As of the first 2 chapters, I haven't ran into that particular fight yet, but I have ran into that. I have ran into that guy twice, and both times it is a reality check, just like in the old games. Now, those who've never played the old games, you don't know what I'm talking about, but I don't want to spoil it for you. For those that have played, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That was the Musu attack. Probably said that wrong too. There are a couple variants of that attack in terms of mechanics. You have the single, the more common one, where it's just single bar, single hit, powerful attack. You have the team Musu attack, where you and an ally nearby will double up your Musus on somebody, or in this case multiple somebodies, as it usually is. And then there's the third one, which is a rage mode Musu, and it is as over the top as you would want it to be. Now see that there, I forget the in-game terms, but what it is that the enemy is charging up an attack and you are given an opportunity to break their stance. If you don't, you will need to either dodge or block that attack because it's going to do more damage than the regular attacks will. But if you can break it, you will significantly weaken them in terms of them being staggered, and you're able to do a flourish attack or a finisher on them. But you will also temporarily stun them. Yes, and this is, I believe, a little bit of a tutorial about morale. Now that a chance to stance break somebody is not just officers. They can also order their infantry to do particular attacks, and you're given the opportunity to stop their whole attack, even if your one move only hits one person. Which, just like the officers, gives you the opportunity to do a finish or flourish attack, and it will most likely hit the entire group you just stunned.
The enemy's soldiers are not impressive on their own. Their combined effort must not be underestimated. Victory is within our grasp. Everyone, keep going. I've been waiting for this.
The lock-on is a little weird if you've played any Souls-like games. It does not function the same. It is merely just locking on to a particular point of interest for your camera. You can still move and attack in any direction as you please, but your camera will remain focused on who you are targeting.
The enemy officer has been defeated.
We strive to rescue all who are oppressed. The heavens are on our side. We must rid the world of these imperial beasts.
What are you talking about, citizens? Who exactly are you trying to save? Would you call attacking people in their homes saving them? All I hear are their cries of fear.
There again with the stance break or the stun. Now that there is the other stun, we're giving you the chance to do a finisher or a flourish attack.
But I do know that I will go to the aid of any who cry out for help. It's as simple as that. How about this?
If you insist on getting in our way, prepare to die.
Another thing about what's different in this one than the old games is the ability to heal. Now, as you can see, I had broken some pots and there were healing items sitting in there. There is also the option right above the health bar is your healing item. You can boost how much you can carry as well as how potent they are. But if I remember correctly, I don't think any other Dynasty Warriors games have done this. If they have, I simply haven't played that one.
Our first battle was a huge success.
And I've noticed that if you were to use some of those healing items and then find dropped healing items in the map, collecting more than you need refills your supply, which will come in handy several times if you're as sloppy as I am. Now at the end of any fights, whether it's a small scale or a large scale, you will earn points towards multiple things, and they could unlock ranks for you. As you progress through a rank, you will of course get your stat bonuses that will make you even more godlike, but you could also get to a point where you will unlock a skill tree, which is not very complex, but I do think it might need a bit of explaining. Now the overworld map, you can talk to other characters, but you can, when you access a village, you're given the option to go to the inn or shop. And the shop is where you will find, of course, consumable items you want to take into battle, or weapons. And early in the game, it does give you an opportunity to go get a new weapon type, and then it's going to tell you, this is what I want you to do to learn how to use it. It's not going to handhold you, but it is going to steer you in a direction to help you learn. Because again, you can stick to one weapon type and button mash till your heart's content. But it's definitely not going to make you feel like you had to. Now, that little white circle that appeared on the overworld map is known as a skirmish. It is a quick, very small scale battle, usually 2 to 5 waves of enemies. Well, no, not waves, groups, I should say. Whether you have to run at them or they're running at you. There's usually 2 to 5 groups. They're usually not that difficult at all. Fairly simple. Less than 10 officers. You know, through 2 chapters of the game, I've never fought more than, I believe, 5 or 6 in a skirmish. Now you do have, you can tell on the bottom right, you have that little diamond-shaped set of symbols there. Those are your battle arts. Some of them are used defensively, some of them are used offensively, but they're all unique and enjoyable. You can also rank up your proficiency with weapons. I failed to say anything about that earlier. And each time you rank up your proficiency, you rank up yourself. And you could potentially unlock a skill tree. These skill trees, majority of which are just stat boosts, strength, HP, defense, stuff like that. Other times, they are new moves, or upgrades to your healing, or, eventually, stuff that you will get but haven't found yet. Which, of course, unnecessarily vague and confusing. To unlock these, I couldn't figure it out at first. You have to hold A on anything you can afford to unlock, or you can tap X and select multiple ones just by tapping A. Either way works. This is a fast travel point. There are multiple points throughout the map, and fortunately, you don't have to go to a fast travel point to fast travel. Once you've unlocked them, you can open the map and pick one. There are also, like the points and people, there are hidden collectibles you can get that are useful later, as well as these minerals that are used to make jewels. You can craft the jewels in your the in-hub menu, and there's 5 types. You pick one in your loadout. Each one has its own specific use, and you can upgrade it just by finding more of these minerals. When you choose to refine them, you have a chance to roll one of these 5. I don't know the specific odds. I'm assuming a 1 in 5 chance out of each of them. 20% chance for each, but I don't know for sure.
It won't take you across the realm in a day.
This is one of the things that the vague and confusing answer I gave earlier was about the horse. At a certain point in the story, you will unlock the horse, which can be used both in the overworld map and in combat. Now, of course, the combat bit of that, anyone that's a fan of the franchise already knows, because that's a thing you've been able to do since way back when. Now, these NPCs you can find on the board, or the overworld map, they're worth talking to. Some of them will provide you missions, others will provide you tasks that you can fulfill. Fulfilling these tasks gives you bonus skill points. They are worth completing, because that's where I found you get the most. Other NPCs with a gold ring on them will have access to side missions, which, like skirmishes, are somewhat randomized skirmishes, but larger. In terms of scale, you have skirmishes, side missions, and story missions. Story missions being the largest, skirmishes being the smallest. Now, doing these tasks gives you the ability to very quickly fill out an entire skill tree. It would not be a surprise if you filled one out before unlocking the next one. Now, as you can see, I completed it all the way till chapter 1. That's all I've got for you guys so far. If you enjoyed it, subscribe if you care to do so. But until then, until I see y'all again, toodles.